Welcome, my lords, to the Well Earned Comforts Podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Seth.
Thank you for joining us on the Walls of Isengard as we explore the many works of Tolkien and discuss life. We're glad to have you as part of this fellowship, as there's no telling where we'll be slept off to. And boy, it's been a hot minute. I feel like every single time I do this intro, I followed up with, it's been a hot minute. And that's just the reality of life when you're young fathers with full-time jobs and living states apart and trying to fit in a hobby to top it off. And so apologies in advance, or preface the episode. Just it's been 2 months since we've been able to talk and get together, and so we're just gonna have some fun tonight. We've got nothing deep planned, so apologies if you're expecting some big lore dump. That's not going to be today's podcast, but we will have a lot of fun, and I'm excited to hear Seth's takes on our hot takes of today. But before we jump into that, we're going to babble like Butterbur for just a little bit. I'm going to check in with that brother Seth that I just mentioned over in Michigan. What's going on? You got the hood up, got the Shards of Narsil hoodie on.
Oh,
looks
yeah.
good.
I mean, the hoodie's awesome. I don't know if... have you seen this
Sweet.
one? On the back?
Oh, I haven't. That's amazing.
Yeah. Amanda found it on Etsy or something for Christmas. So, and it's actually really soft and comfy. It's one of my favorite go-tos. But yeah, it's a little chilly. Yesterday was actually beautiful. It was like the first nice day that I have had off all winter. It was like 60 degrees and sunny, and we were outside a whole bunch, went for walks and played at the park. So it was great. But then today unfortunately, we're going to get a lot of snow in the next few days, and it's blowing in the cold ice rain tonight. So it's already a little bit chilly out there now. So, but yeah, life is busy. It's fun, but well, at least being at home with the kids and Amanda is fun. Everything else is kind of not enjoyable at the moment. Let's just say that.
Sure.
Work is work, and school is hard to, I mean, maybe it's senioritis, maybe it's, I don't know, just a light at the end of the tunnel, but still feeling like it's so far off in the distance that just completely apathetic towards it. And it's like a drag to force myself to do any school, but there's a lot to be done. So that really doesn't leave a whole lot of excess brain power or creative juices, unfortunately, for something like this. So I do apologize, and I appreciate your patience and willingness to, just throw out a podcast on some fun, chatty topics instead of something that's more labor intensive to put together.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have some cool plans for said labor intensive lore ideas, but until then, I think we both needed a little chatty release, creative Middle Earth Tolkien release. I mean, dude, what you're doing right now, like my schooling was so easy, like the online school that I finished, but even just like the month, I guess it was like 3 months that I was doing school while we had Baron, and having a kid while doing like it. I'm writing a meaningless paper while my baby's sitting right there like cooing at me, and I'm like, what am I doing? This is so dumb. Why am I, I should be with my baby. And for you to be able to do that with your two kids, like I know you're so intentional with them too, so you're not doing school in front of them, like you're waiting until 4 a.m. like you just mentioned, or late into the night, so that you are present with it. It's very, very commendable. You're a very present dad, and that's unfortunately very rare in a lot of society right now. So
yeah,
cheers to you, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. It's like you said, it's definitely a grind. I'm hoping for it to be over soon, but I mean, 3 day, Monday through Sunday, I'm working 12 and a half hours. It's 12 hours, 45 minutes to 13 hours that I'm out of the house. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'm actually doing clinical, which are almost 11-hour days, but it's 40 minutes away. So that's another 80 minutes of commuting a day. And I get home and I tell Evelyn, I'm like, all right, I'm setting a timer for 10 minutes and we're going to play whatever you want to play until this timer goes off. And then it's time to get ready for bed. And it's not, a lot of time, but she, sometimes we'll play dinosaurs. Sometimes we'll run around and, do shadow puppets on the wall. And like, it's good for her to kind of dictate the play, I think. So yeah, on my days off, that's all I'm doing is focusing on them as much as possible. But, I did also want to say a huge thank you to you and my beautiful wife and whoever else contributed to this. But I had my birthday yesterday, and my wife reached out to Sam and was like, "Hey, Seth is really into these Lord of the Ring cards. Can you find something special?" And this is Faramir. It's a signed foil PSA 10 graded Faramir card, which is absolutely stunning. I've got it right up on my Tolkien shelf, just on full display. I've spent a lot of time looking at it, and what's kind of crazy is I'm part of a niche Lord of the Rings trading card Facebook group, and I posted it just like,
Yeah.
because people like to see these types of things. And some random guy
Yeah.
just commented and was like, "Hey, you didn't buy it from me because I sold it to somebody else, but I can guarantee that that card's authentic, and the signature's real." And he posted a picture of David Wenham, the guy that plays Faramir,
Yeah.
like basically signing the card, which is
So
awesome.
cool.
So, very big thank you to you and obviously my beautiful wife for putting it together. And it's a special gift. I really like it.
Yeah, I was she'd asked because she sent me a picture of your collection and you have all the abbreviations, so like ROTK and what was it, Battle of Helm's Deep, BHD or whatever it
Yeah.
is, like BOHD, and she's like, what does any of this mean? And I was like, I got you. But she's like, hey, he'd probably like some cards, and I mentioned, I remember you saying eBay. I actually jumped into that Facebook page too.
Oh, did you?
Um, yeah, because I remember you telling me like that's where you found the one that you get sent me for Baron and Elsar, and so I looked at that for a little bit, but then just looking on eBay, I found this guy, and I'm hesitant to send you his link because I don't want you to spend more money than you need to because he's got some really cool stuff on there.
I'm sure.
He's got a signed Ian McKellen Balrog foil that's super cool, um, but it's $17,000.
Oh my gosh.
That's what he has to put out for. I'm like, who in the world? Uh, but I don't know. Maybe somebody. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody.
Well,
Or maybe it was. Yeah, it was a couple thousand. Maybe.
I
It was. Yeah, it was a
uh,
lot.
I do want to ask, why did you pick Faramir? Because I don't know if that's just what was in the price range, or I'm curious because Book Faramir is probably my favorite character in all of the Legendarium, if not top three, but
Mhm.
probably my favorite in Lord of the Rings at least. And movie Faramir, which obviously it's a picture signed by the actor, whatever, but
Yeah.
the fact that you were able to pick a Faramir is actually mind blowing to me. And I'm wondering, was that intentional or was that just happenstance that it
Yes.
fit?
No, it was pretty intentional. There was a couple others in the price range. I almost got you. There's assigned alerts by the guy that does alerts. I
Yeah.
forget his name, Henry McElroy or I don't know something, but but I was like, no, it's I mean Faramir is your one of your favorite
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
Like we've talked a lot about him, and I was like hesitant. I was like, it's the depiction of PJ Faramir, but at the same time, like it's
It's
still
Faramir.
Faramir.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was a beautiful foil, PSA 10, all that kind of stuff, and I was
Yeah.
like,
That's
but so here's
wild.
the funny thing. I don't know if Amanda told you this. So she scared the crap out of me because I thought that we got scammed for a minute because I had texted her saying, "Yeah, it's on its way. It should be here today at some point." She's like, "Sweet." And then she texted me said, "Sam, oh my gosh, I think we've been scammed." And my heart just dropped. I was like, "No, you've got to be kidding me!" Like I had like because everybody else in the family contributed too, and I was gonna have to
Mm.
tell them like we totally got duped because she said she had gotten a box and it was like a wooden box, and then like 5 minutes later she's like, "Wait, hold on, I think my mom sent something." Because I went back on and I was like, "Yeah, it hasn't even delivered yet. What do you?" Okay, and so then I was like, "It looks like it's gonna be delayed. It'll be there tomorrow. Like, let me know when it comes in." And so she's like, "It's here. It came in great. It looks wonderful." And so I was like, "Oh, thank God." But for a minute there, my heart dropped because the guy that I bought it from, he's got like 1,000, 5-star reviews
Oh
on
yeah.
eBay. He's got a bunch of different cards. Again, there was so many signs. I'm like, we're not. Surely this is not a. But when she said that, I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we screwed that up. But
Uh
thankfully, shoot, was not the
I'm
case.
glad I'm
But
glad it wasn't a dupe, but I'm
yeah,
very very pleased with the gift, and that's it means a lot to me. So thank you. And of course,
yeah,
thank you to
yeah.
everybody
No,
else in the family who
pleasure.
pitched in.
Yes, yes, for sure. Shout out,
So
mom. She listens.
shout out mom. Yeah, she's probably like, "Oh, hey, they finally got together again." Um, but yeah, anyways, enough about me. How have you been, man?
Been pretty good. I keep telling people like I'm the busiest I've ever been, and yet I'm not doing anything, but
Huh.
I'm not bored. If that makes sense. Like like my routine is very much I wake up, I go to work, come home, play with the kids, go to bed, and
Yeah.
repeat. You know, outside of like the couple nights that we have things planned, but just a very monotonous kind of life right now. But it's great because I'm not bored. Like
Hmm.
I'm not doing anything exciting, but I'm not bored because I'm always with either my kids or I'm sleeping or I'm at work. Like I'm always doing something, even if it's not anything spectacular. But I was texting Caleb, shout out Caleb who did our episode on music and Lord of the Rings, and I was just like, dude, I'm just itching for an adventure. And we reminisced a little bit about a snow caving trip we took in high school and
Mm.
like how we want to do something like that again. And so we are gonna go camping soon, I think, is the plan. But
Really?
we did
Where
have our
at?
first. That's near Gatlinburg, like in Tennessee. It's like
Huh.
the Smoky Mountains. Um, so it'll be fun, and hopefully this is before tick season because
Yeah.
gosh, there are so many ticks out here. It's ridiculous. I can't like it genuinely like there's some good hiking spots. There's again places to like go trail running or whatever else, but the chance of getting a tick are so high. And I guess there's like ways to help prevent that. There's certain things you can do, but it's just so frustrating. Like it's one of
Yeah.
those things. It's like you shouldn't have to worry about this. I never thought about it in Colorado. Like it was
Right.
never an issue, and I don't want to like keep taking ticks off of bears' body parts like after an outing every time.
Yeah.
But we did have our first sleepover with him, so we have a couple a friend group that it's a couple. They have a kid who's like Bear's best friend.
Hmm.
His name's Solomon, and so we had the idea is like, all right, well, why don't you guys come over? You can sleep over. We'll put the kids to bed, and then we'll stay up late. You know, play some games, hang out, and stuff. Um, and then you guys can sleep in the guest bedroom. So we did like a grown up sleepover, but with the kid as well. And then that was like Friday night, and then Saturday morning, Bear and Solomon were just in the back. It was a beautiful morning, thankfully. So we had breakfast outside in the backyard, and kids are just running around screaming at like 7 a.m. And I saw one of our neighbors get out of his back, like out of his house to like let his dog out. Just looked over our direction, kind of gave me that face of like, really, bro. And this is a guy that doesn't have kids. You know, they're a young
Yeah.
couple. I'm like, sorry,
Sorry.
like my
Yeah.
bad, but it was really fun. Like Bear loved having his friend over, and
That's cool.
so stuff like that. It's cool to kind of see those little childhood memories forming. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's much else to tell. I mean, Ariel's a rock star as always. You know, she's chugging along with just she's been doing most of the things with the kids, and Bear's in a tough season just with
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of defiance and pushing back, and he's very very high spirited, which is great. But can definitely be difficult to channel that energy. And him and Ellis are they like each other, but they also hate each other. You know, it's like that brotherly love,
I
I
was wondering
guess.
how that would
But
develop once LSR started getting more opinions, which I'm sure is
he's fighting
starting to
back.
happening, you know.
He's fighting back. It's pretty funny to watch. Sometimes we'll just like sit back and watch to see how it plays out. Bear usually always wins, but Ellis stands his ground, you know. But it's so funny because Bear has the classic like older brother vibe of anytime they're out in public, if somebody else comes up to LSR, he like protects them. He'll like jump in front and be like, "No,
That's my
my
brother.
brother." And it's totally that like nobody beats up my brother but me
Oh
kind of
yeah,
thing.
I get it. I
And
get it.
yeah, of course you do. You were beating me up all the time. but but it's fun to watch. But yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
probably plenty of an update for now. More
Yeah.
to come in the future, I'm sure. But
Well.
until then, man, we can jump into some riddles in the dark if you want.
Ooh yeah.
I've got a character that I'm really excited to see how you'll do
Oh
with it.
geez. Okay.
He's also part of my hot takes later on. So, but
Okay. Excuse me. So you want
oh,
me to guess
yeah,
first
none of
then?
that. No yawning. It's only 8:56. Of course,
Yeah, I'm
time change and all
normally
that.
in bed around this. All right. I'll guess first. So we're gonna go 1 minute on the clock. I'll hit start, yes or no questions. Try to narrow down and guess the character. Okay. You ready, Sam?
Yeah, hit it.
And ready, set, go. Is this character in the first age?
No,
Second.
no,
Only the third. So probably, right?
yes,
Okay. Is this a man?
Yes.
Man of Gondor.
No.
Rohan.
No.
Is it Beorn?
What? There's no way.
23 seconds.
That's ridiculous. How in the world did you do that? I was so
Because
confident. I was like, ah.
so
That makes me so mad.
the second I said, "Is it a man?" you hesitated and your eyebrow twitched, and you went,
Uh,
"Yeah." And so, what other option do I have as like a half man, right?
Dang it.
So,
Terrible poker face.
you know
Shoot.
what? Just because I'm feeling generous after dominating that,
Okay, here we go.
I initially meant for this to be impossible for you because you've been giving me a couple of impossible ones. So it's still rather impossible, but I'm going to tell you it is a man.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you
Okay.
that hint. It is a man.
It's messed up.
So whenever you're ready, we'll hit start.
All right, go ahead. Is he in the first stage?
Yes.
Is he of the House of Hador?
No.
Haleth?
No.
What's the other one? Beor?
Yeah.
Is he akin to Baron?
I don't believe so.
Was he a part of the Outlaws?
Which outlaws?
Barons and Barhere's Outlaws, like that company.
Yes.
Is it crap, what's his name? The guy that gets tormented by Sauron.
What's his name?
No. It's not Gwendor, it's oh no.
TikTok.
Shoot, dude.
You know what? I'll give it. I'll give it to you. It's Gorlin.
What is it? Gorlum. Shoot.
That was actually very well done. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna make it, and I was like, this is gonna be impossible. But you narrowed that down real quick.
Well, I think you giving me that hint also helped me to decide what it was supposed to be. So
he is also slightly involved in one of my hot takes. So just very slightly, just kind of a side take. Right, but well done. That's a hard one to get.
Likewise, I'm still so mad at Beorn. I should have just. I knew as soon as I hesitated, I was like, I probably gave something away there.
Yeah, you did. You gave it all away.
That was very quick. Shoot,
that was a fun one.
Well, yeah, that was good. No new tidings of the Fellowship as far as I know.
Nothing that I know.
I've been chatting with Caleb and actually Uncle Curtis, who is Caleb's father. He just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which is pretty cool.
Just went on an adventure himself.
Yeah. He has a podcast. I think it's called the Adventure Sports Podcast or something like that. Mm-hmm. I might put in the show notes, but he kind of tells his story of Kilimanjaro, and it was really cool. But he actually said he wants to have us on the podcast at some point soon, kind of do a little Adventures in Middle Earth conversation, which would be super sweet. So I guess that's fun. Some tidings of our fellowship. So Uncle Curtis, if you're listening, shout out.
Yeah,
proud of you.
Well done.
It's a huge feat that you're able to do that. Yeah,
it's incredible.
For sure. But other than that, been chatting with Caleb, like I mentioned, for a little bit. But other than that, I think we have been pretty ghosted ourselves. But I mean, again, shout out to Dr. Damien from last time. Like that was a great conversation. I know the audio after listening back it sounded honestly better, I think, live than it did on the recording. But
I think so too. Yeah.
Either way, like he was still. I mean, the dude's a well of knowledge. I mean, to be an orthopedic surgeon, I suppose you have to be able to take in a lot of information to retain it. But the way that he's able to do that with Tolkien is great. Opie, what are you doing back there?
You can see him.
What are you doing?
I think Amanda just took him out for the night. He just comes in and
I just see him come in and rolling around like a rug.
He is a rug. He's got a haircut coming up.
Love that. Yeah, but we do want to hear from you guys, even though we have been in a time of silence the last couple of months. We'd love to hear from you guys if you got thoughts on any of the podcasts we've done so far, or as we're about to jump into some of these hot takes. If you've got some hot takes of your own, or if you wholly disagree with us or wholly agree with it, I mean, let us know. We'd love to hear what you're thinking.
And shout out to whoever the one person was, likely one person that went through and
Yeah.
downloaded like 60 of our episodes in one day.
I saw that.
Because
I
they're
saw that.
we looked at the chart and it's just like, we get like what, like 2 to 7 a day on average,
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
of downloads, and then all of a sudden one day just spiked to 60, and it's like that's got to be one person just downloading all of them. So when you finally make it
Right.
to this episode, shout out, you're a real one.
Yeah. That's you.
That's dedication to, like, when you go ahead and
Yeah.
decide to hit download on 60 different podcasts from the
I
same
mean,
people.
without hearing them all, that's
That's an
that's a
investment
lot of
right
risk.
there. That's a time investment right there.
Yes. And to all our friends across the pond, I mean, London is our #1 city of listeners, which is kind of fascinating.
That's wild because
Um,
we don't have any
uh,
really connections over there.
no, none whatsoever. At least on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. I don't know if it's the truth for Spotify either, but oh, I love you too, Seth. That was sweet. You didn't have to say that in front of everybody.
I mean, I love you too, Sam. But that was definitely to my bride, who was trying to summon the dog. Opie, go see mama. Go see mommy. Good boy. She doesn't like going to bed alone.
You sound like the Ottoman, I think it was, from AoE 3. Like, go see mama. You remember, like it's I don't know. That's a niche. Nobody's gonna get that.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, back to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, back to Lord of the Rings. Anyway, yeah. So shout out to our friends across the pond. If that's
Definitely.
you and you have been listening, please let us know. Just shoot us an email or hit us up on X or Twitter or whatever. We'd love to hear from you. Because again, I mean, I've said it before on the podcast, I think, but I would love to hear the perspective of like how fans feel about Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and everything over there. Obviously, that's your world, that's your mythology, pretty much at this point. And so, especially with some of the new stuff coming out too, like I know how I feel about it. I know how a lot of my friends feel about it, like how people it seems like in America. But I'd love to hear more from that side of things. But anyway, all that to say, we can jump into the meat and potatoes of today's podcast, which again, it's just gonna be a fun little chat about our hot takes or debates in Middle Earth. And so Seth and I both picked up just some hot takes. We haven't told each other these yet, so chances are we might agree or disagree. We'll see. But I got a pretty spicy one to start out.
Kick us off,
you want
buddy.
me to go
kick
first.
okay. Kick us off. Let's hear it.
You're not gonna like this, and I'm not so sure I do either. Like I'll preface this with this is not just entertainment. This is a genuine like struggle back and forth, and I think I disagree with myself. But Gandalf is a coward.
Okay. Huh. So I guess I would ask why, but
yeah,
I can kind of, just before you, I'll give it to you back here in a minute, but I can kind of see where you're coming from in that he never wanted to leave Valinor in the first place because he was scared of Sauron, and Manwë basically gave him the boot and said, nope, you have to go do this because you're scared. So I'm curious if that's the angle you're taking.
That's exhibit number A or exhibit A. Exhibit B would be the White Council. I was just reading this in the Silmarillion, kind of the third age of the Rings of Power and the third age, the very end of the Silmarillion, leading up to the events of Lord of the Rings. And I've read it before, but it kind of stuck out to me this time is Galadriel wanted Gandalf to be head of the Order. And he was the wisest. Olorin was the wisest of all the Maiar. And yet he refused. And he omitted himself to Sauron's leadership, excuse me. And he says to Galadriel something along the lines of like, I don't want to be tied to anybody. Like I don't want to have like responsibility for that. And part of me thinks, man, this guy just wants to roam around, get his pipe weed, hang out with hobbits, enjoy life for a little bit, just soak in all the blessings of Middle Earth before actually having to get to work. But again, I get why he refused it, but by omitting it to Saruman, that really screws some stuff up for later on. I mean, would Gandalf have succumbed to the same temptations? Probably not. I don't know. I think because he is the wisest, he would have seen through that, as he did later on in the Fellowship when he's confronting Saruman about it. But had he taken the keys to Orthanc from the beginning, had he taken the head of the White Council from the beginning, we might have seen a whole different story. Now, it wouldn't have been as good, probably. And so I'm thankful that it turned out this way. But then also you look at The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings both. Yes, I get that he was being wise and not taking the ring. But he's also just, I mean, I think about what the journey did to Frodo. Bilbo, not so much. Like, sure, I just a little nudge out of the door.
They're back.
No, you showed up with an entire group of dwarves without asking and invaded his space and ate all his cheese and drank all his beer and and pretty much forced him on an adventure, which was good for him. Uh, but at the same time, he's a mover. I know that's what his job is, to move and to encourage and to inspire the people of Middle Earth. But specifically Frodo, and I know I can't put this all on Gandalf because at the council, like Frodo agrees to do this. Gandalf never said you need to do this, but he did pretty much seal his fate up to that point. I feel like because he gave him so much responsibility leading up to that point where Frodo was like, well, yeah, it's got to be me. Between passing the ring from Bilbo to me, the resilience of hobbits, like he's understanding. Frodo's contrary to movie Frodo, he's actually very, very wise. He can see what men or elves or dwarves might do with the ring if they were to have it. But again, I feel like Gandalf sets him on this path, and it destroys Frodo. We talked about this with Benjamin. Like it completely destroys Frodo, and he, after Fires of Mount Doom, is never the same. He goes off to Valinor, to the Undying Lands, and is still probably never the same. Even though he goes off to quote unquote like bliss and a beautiful land of no woes or no enemies, the dude still had 9 fingers. A constant reminder of his failure of not being able to finish his task that Gandalf kind of set him on. And again, there's plenty of rebuttal, I'm sure, that I could be smacking the face with, and that's why again I said I don't even know if I agree with this completely, but as I was reading and just kind of thinking about it, I was like, of all the Maiar, like I don't really know much about the Blueses. We don't really know about that. Radagast stays in his lane, but he's very adamant about what he believes in. Gandalf over and over again just kind of passes off responsibility to other people, which is kind of his job. But
And that's where I guess it depends on what your definition of coward is in the sense, because would it have been easier for him to take the ring? Yeah. Would it have been easier for him to take the leadership of the White Council? Yeah. But in not doing those things, it freed him up to be able to be the mover that he was meant to be. So
yeah,
if so it sounds like you're taking more from that perspective, like a shirking of duty in a way, versus like
yeah,
a
just more like
he fought the
passive, like
Balrog
passivity.
and Nazgul and like all those things and clearly isn't a
Yeah,
coward, right?
sure. I
um
think it's more passivity. Yeah.
I can kind of understand that take, but I think at the same time he was the out of all the wizards that came, he was the only one that was equipped to be able to be a mover. And
Hmm.
because Sauron wouldn't have done it if he didn't get the keys to Orthanc, he
True.
would have been Smeagol 2.0, just paddling up and down the Anduin looking for the One Ring. Like
Yeah, that's
that's
fair.
why he wanted to set up shop in Orthanc from the beginning, is because he wanted to
True.
study the
Yeah.
ring making and be close to the Anduin, and
Yeah.
to be able to, you know, be within distance of where all that occurred with uh the Gladden Fields and everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting thought. I can see your perspective. I don't know that I would necessarily agree with it, but it's a definitely a hot take. I'll give you that.
Again, and I'm not sold on it myself 100%, but it's something that just kind of kept coming up for me as I'm reading through it, and I and he does some things too that I'm just like like through the Hobbit, he just disappears at different times, when the dwarves are going through conflict, and I just he leaves Frodo with the ring to go off for 17 years. I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot that you're like, huh, where you at, buddy?
Well, but
But
I mean, leaving Frodo, he also, told Aragorn to watch the borders
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Shire. I
true,
mean, it
true.
was
Yes,
always,
you're right. You're right.
um,
Yeah,
he was always being a mover, right? So,
yeah, that's fair.
yeah, I don't know. Definitely a hot take. Definitely a hot take.
Yes, for
Uh,
sure.
all right, I'm gonna jump in
What
here
do you got?
now. So it's
Let's see what
not
you
as
got.
hot as that, but I'll start off with kind of a twofold statement. I absolutely love the songs and the poems in Lord of the Rings specifically. I like
Mm,
them. I have a list of them and kind of why I like them. but I think that they provide so much lore and depth and character development and understanding of the greater world. It sucks you in to be a part of this story as opposed to a passive observer.
Hmm.
That being said, I also think that if you're reading Lord of the Rings for the first time and you don't understand the wider world at all, it's probably good to just go ahead and skip those.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely not as spicy, but I get what you're saying. I think yeah, there's something so mysterious about the songs that, at least for me, sucked me in when I first started reading because I didn't know what they meant. To your point, and like the whole thing with Treebeard too, that even the episode that we talked about, like, and dissected ourselves, like without doing that research, I would have had no idea what Treebeard was talking about. But it was he's reminiscing about a time that was. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, this is like a wise saying, or this is something I'm making up. He's alluding to things that happened, things that were. Same with like Galadriel and the lore there too, and so a lot of those songs, yeah. I mean, like when Aragorn sings part of the Leoluthian, like that's so rich to me. But yeah, I will say this. Maybe I'll say this. No, I haven't listened to Andy Serkis singing the songs. If he does or not, I don't know if he does in the audiobooks of his rendition. But Rob Inglis, I love the guy. I don't think I like how he sang those songs.
Oh
It's
man,
just
that's where I completely disagree with you.
really,
I've gone
oh
through on
man,
YouTube and downloaded most of them. And when Evelyn when Evelyn's staying awake because there's thunder and I take her down to the guest bedroom to just give her comfort and not wake up Ben and everything, I
Mhm.
play my playlist of Rob Inglis singing these songs and we
Really.
both love it.
Hmm.
So maybe it's just the
All right,
nostalgic part to me. You have to speed them up a little
sure.
bit. If you do it at that 1.0 speed, it's
Mm,
not great.
yeah,
But man, that's interesting that you don't like him because the
that
way
just
he
sounds
does
so
it to me,
cheesy.
it just I love it. I love it. But to your point, I think that they really do suck people in, and they definitely do for me. But I don't know that it would provide the same benefit on the first read through to somebody that's
Yeah,
just coming in. You're like, okay, why is this ranger all of a sudden chanting about somebody I've never heard of in a land I've never heard of
yeah,
with names I've never heard of? You just have no
right.
context for it. But what it can do if you're a little bit more into it is spark that curiosity. Oh, Baron Luthien, what are they? And then you hit up the wiki and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a Silmarillion book. And like, you
Yeah,
know, it can definitely lead you down to different things. But I kind of wanted to just read through a couple of different of the songs and like my take on
yeah.
them.
You're not gonna
And
sing him?
I mean, I can try, but I'll sound like Rob Inglis because that's the only way I know him. But there's a couple of them, which there's a couple of famous ones. I mean, the roads go ever on and on, right? Like that's a very famous one. And then the one that Bilbo sings in Rivendell, where he says, "I sit beside the fire and think." If you actually
Yeah, that's
read
so
that one,
good. That
it
is
is
so good.
beautiful. For like we always talk about, Tolkien didn't like allegory, but it's applicable to your life, to your life.
Yeah.
And there's a specific line in there, and it says, for there are still so many things that I have never seen. In every wood and every spring there is a different green. I sit beside the fire and think of people long ago and people who will see a world that I shall never know. And it's just
Mm.
like I can't tell you how many times growing up in Colorado we'd go on these hikes and I'd just go off the trail a
Yeah.
little bit and be like, has anybody ever stepped right here? You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like when we would do the
Yeah.
Mount
Yeah.
Grays, which you did with us once, right? Because you had
Yep.
surgery the first time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But
Um,
I did it the second time.
yeah, yeah.
The
But
Shrinky
like
Dinky, you don't remember
yeah,
that?
that's right. I still have that video somewhere.
Oh
Oh
gosh.
man. But
Don't show it. I'd get fired.
oh man. But just the idea of like there's still mystery in this world and
Yeah.
there's a world that you'll never know because of the people that came before
Mhm.
you and the people that come after us. The world we're living in, they'll never be able to know. It's just
Right.
it adds so much depth and like inserts me into the story to where it's like, I can see where he's coming from right here.
Mhm.
And then you go from those to like the Cat and the Fiddle that Frodo sings in
Yeah.
Bree. It's just a
Dancing
fun,
and yeah.
yeah, it's just a fun song. It's just a fun one. And then same with the bath song that they sing in Crick
Yeah.
Hollow, right? Like I put that
Mhm.
on, and when Evie and Ben are um taking a bath, and Evelyn immediately goes, "It's our bath song," and just starts singing along with it. She loves it. But it's just like it shows the fun and playful nature of the hobbits, right?
Yeah.
And kind of
Yeah.
along that line, the songs that Sam comes up with about the trolls or
Mm.
about
Yeah.
the Oliphants or Gandalf's fireworks, like the songs that he comes up with,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
fitting to each different character. And then for Gimli,
Sure.
he does a whole chant about the Mirror and the Song of
Mhm.
Durin, and it's like it explains the dwarves in a way that you wouldn't have understood without that. And then Legolas at the end of the Return
Huh.
of the King, where he says like, Gladriel warned me in Lothlorien that this would happen, but I've smelled the sea and I saw a seagull or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. And now he has this longing to
Mhm.
cross the sea, even though he had never seen it prior.
Right.
So just Tolkien uses the songs to just explain, I guess, the lore, but also just the depth of his characters and how they come up with songs. The Lament for Boromir is one of my absolute favorites, where Legolas and
Mm.
Aragorn just go back and
Yeah.
forth lamenting
Yeah.
Boromir. But what it does is puts you in Boromir's shoes, and you realize that he was a good man, and that he,
Yeah.
all these things that he was doing, and the people that are searching for him and wishing he would return. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
may think Boromir was more of a villain. He really wasn't. But then you hear the song, the lament for him, and it really just, it makes you feel for him and the fact that he died. It's a tragedy. It's a loss
Mhm.
that isn't as poignant without that song. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's very beautifully and well spoken. Boromir. I thought about doing a hot take like who would win in a fight, Boromir or Turin, and then I was like, Turin would wipe the floor with him. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be even close. As
Yeah.
much as Boromir was awesome, he still got killed by orcs, and Turin never had that problem, even when he didn't have a sword.
He
Uh,
legit killed himself after killing the father of dragons.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I kept going through like who could maybe battle Turin, and I couldn't find anybody. I was like,
Only his
Baron,
dad.
no. Aragorn, no. Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Probably the
Huron.
only one.
Already in Tula. Yeah.
Already in Tulava.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think for first timer, especially if you don't have any other knowledge, like if you haven't read The Hobbit, if you haven't read any, if you have very little context, it's probably unnecessary. But to your point, as you just mentioned, like there's so much beauty within it, and some of the songs, yeah, they don't you don't necessarily need to like some of the songs are like I sit by the fire and think like that's not a lore dump as much as it is just a reality of life. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you just choose to skip all the songs, you are going to miss a lot of really good poetry.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting take for sure.
What's
Uh,
your next one?
well, yeah. My next one, um, this one I think I have an answer to. But along the lines of Beorn, again, can't believe that you did that. That was insane. Um, but I thought about it and I was thinking like, okay, who would win in a fight, Beorn or Huon? And I think I have an answer. Um, Looking at both of them, they're both magical creatures. They're both. I mean, you think of a hound, a great hound who fought, the greatest wolf of all time, or so obviously Huon's got probably the edge. He's a gift of the Valar uh, to the elves, and so I think he's got a bit of an edge. But at the same time, Beorn, the dude's can turn into a huge bear, and he completely turned the tides of the Battle of the Five Armies. And
Does he
I
get
don't know,
airdropped into this fight, or does he have to transform on his own?
depends if Peter Jackson's directing this fight, then yeah, he's getting airdropped. But I don't know. I mean, you look at like Gandalf's depiction, like he was even like, I'm kind of scared of Beorn, like,
Yeah.
and Beorn, I kind of looked into it a little bit longer, like, because I was like, what even happened to him afterwards? And he's the one, him and his lineage are protecting that pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the goblins and stuff, and so they're still very important players in Middle Earth. But obviously, I think Huon probably still has this, but I don't know. I was curious to see what you thought.
I'm probably just gonna bore you with this, but I think Huon has this hands down. I I
Really?
love Bayorn. I think you're right. I mean, he's a bear, but Huon has been in the land of bliss. He has seen the light of the trees. Huon has hunted with um no, Orome. He's hunted with Orome, and he was gifted to, I think, Celegorm, right? Celegorm, I
One of
believe.
them, yeah.
One of
Peripheral
the sons of
one, yeah.
Feanor. But I mean, he's literally a master hunter that has spent time with the Valar and gone back and forth. And then, like you said, he dominated Sauron,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
and then he dominates. Well, I shouldn't say
Toe-to-toe with
dominates,
Karkaroff.
but he takes out Karkaroff. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think Beorn stands a chance, even though he is a magical creature. And part of me wishes that there was just more about Beorn, more lore behind him to be like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
did he actually do? What were the feats that he accomplished? But I just don't see any, I guess, villain or any bad guy on par with what Karkaroff or Huon faced with Karkaroff and Sauron and
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
uh yeah. And what's his name? The cat. You know
The
when you read
cat.
Baron and Luthien, how like one of Tolkien's earlier renditions, there's a cat,
Oh.
Tulivo maybe. What's his name? I forget, but he was like a master cat too
Yeah.
that Huon had to outsmart and all this stuff. I mean, I just
That's man. Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Huon probably, and I figured that was the case, but I was interested because I mean, again, Beorn is just such
he's cool.
a a beast of a man, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Huon's probably got that, especially if he's got to save Luthien. Nothing's gonna stop him. So
True, true. To save the fairest maiden in the land.
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, well, the next one's a little bit spicier than that. But what else you got?
I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit. We'll go with this one. I think Sauron was a much more terrifying, devious, and sly, more powerful creature in the first and second age than he is in the third age when he is the primary villain and that he's really the most, he's the one that everybody's fearing in the third age, whereas in the
Hmm.
first and second age, I guess second age he still technically is, but especially in the first age he's just kind of a side character, and I still think he's way more intimidating in those first two ages than he is in the third age when it's all about him.
Yeah, I don't fully disagree. He's kind of like the well, I kind of look at it like so he tutored under Morgoth, like and Tolkien says there was none as cruel as him
Mm-hmm.
outside of his master Morgoth. Um, and he, I think he did lose a lot of his power leading up to the third age, and
Just in
similar to how
losing the
Morgoth.
ring.
Well, yeah, losing the ring, being defeated by Gilgalad and Elrond, but then also being cast into the void after the destruction of Numenor. Like, just he'd taken a lot of losses, like up to that point, and so this is kind of his like final stand, almost in a sense, and similar to like Morgoth, how he stopped being the baddie and he sent everybody else to go do everything, and he was like you said, master manipulator and amazing at amassing his orcs, his trolls, his uh uh his enemies there. But you're right. I mean, he's that's what's so unique about Lord of the Rings as opposed to any other fantasy is the main villain doesn't really do much at
Yeah,
all as a person um in the main story.
right.
And that's the one critique that people have, like when I've talked to a couple people that have genuine like good critiques of Lord of the Rings. It's like, especially if you've only seen the movies, it's like, how on earth am I supposed to believe that an eye is this gigantic, evil thing that wants to rule the world? Like, it's is an eyeball. Like, how
Yeah.
can we?
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson did a great job of making that, seem still
Seem
menacing,
reasonable.
even so. Yeah, it seemed reasonable. Um, and obviously, when you read through Lord of the Rings, you get a lot more detail on his motives and his methods and stuff. And man, gosh, the Nazgul, like they're his bodyguards pretty much, and they are epic. And so he's got some good allies for sure. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I don't know.
Hmm. I don't know. I just maybe it's too esoteric and just the it gets me so I love it. The fact that the original Minas Tirith was built by Fenrod Felagund, that then Sauron shapeshifted into a werewolf, I would
Yeah,
assume, and brought all his other werewolves with him and overran Fenrod and chased everybody else out, and then dubbed it Tall and Gowroth, or the Isle of
yeah,
Werewolves. And then
yeah.
he led, he he killed Fenrod there in the place
Hmm.
that Fenrod built. As it's so cool to me. Like
Sure.
I love that bit of lore, and it's just like in the Lord of the Rings, it's like, yeah, he's just kind of a passenger to the story.
Hmm.
He's the mover of the enemy, sure, but he's not. You're not terrified of him. You're not terrified of him shape shifting or casting, a veil over Gorlim's eyes to torture his wife and
Yeah.
manipulate him and then put him to death cruelly. Like,
Golly.
you just don't
Right.
see any of
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a fair critique of Lord of the Rings. I wish that Tolkien would have made him a little bit more like he is in the first and second ages, because he's so
Yeah.
fascinating.
And what's crazy about what Tolkien did too, because he had all the first, like he had the Silmarillion pretty much all mapped out before writing Lord of the Rings, and so in his mind, Sauron had already done all these things, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just writing out, the remnants of him, and but his audience has no idea, and I'm sure he knew that. I mean, I'll give the professor props any chance I get, but at the same time, like I wonder if he already had these images in his mind of who Sauron was because he already knew all the things he had written or thought of about him, and so he's like, oh yeah, of course he's people don't want to mess with him. Of course Gandalf's scared of him. Of course, all this kind of stuff. And
Yeah. I
uh,
wonder too if he just wanted to write the story from the POV of the good guys. You know what I
sure.
mean? Because like everything you see, except for the occasional like orc or I guess in the Hobbit Smaug, pretty much you get the dialogue, you get the masterminding, you get, I guess, aside from Sauron a bit, but it's almost all from the good guy's perspective. And I wonder if that
Yeah.
was intentional because of the type of story that he was trying to write as well. I don't know.
Mhm. No, I think you're spot on in that sense too, of just the moral dilemma between the good guys and how they were to go about defeating evil and
Mm-hmm.
the corruption of power and stuff like that too, and how the temptations that even the good guys had to face through that were kind of without the hand of Sauron completely. I think those are all very applicable, as we've talked about many times. Just how all the trials and things that the fellowship had to go through, while not one for one applicable, but very applicable in a philosophical sense to our lives and the things that we
Yeah.
have to face and the resilience that we have to build and decisions we have to make. And so, yeah, obviously he was a master writer and knew what he was doing. But my next hot take, and I
Let's
don't know how
hear
many
it.
more you got, but this is probably my last good one. I've got a couple more honorable mentions that are just kind of fun. But so you're reading the Two Towers, right? And you read through, you get to the Battle of Helm's Deep, you get through all that. Then the reunion of Gandalf and Merry and Pippin, well-earned comforts of our whole podcast name, as
Mm-hmm.
they get back to Orthanc and see the hobbits and the reunion of the hunters with hobbits and stuff. And then you go back in time after finishing that, and you start all over from the breaking of the Fellowship with just Frodo and Sam.
Yeah.
And then you read all the way through that up until the doors
Tower
of
of Cure
Kirith where
Ungol, yeah.
Sam is like, all right, I guess I got to go up. This, I remember Nate, if you're still listening to our podcast, I think you are, but I remember you told me once that like that was just such a boring part of the books to you, and I don't disagree. And like just the chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter of just Frodo and Sam and Gollum. Like, so I would suggest, similar to you saying, hey, maybe skip the songs, I would suggest what like reading the book as you would kind of watch the movies, because Peter Jackson obviously went back and forth, staying in the same timeline. So reading a chapter of, the Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas, then reading a chapter of Frodo and Sam, then going back and reading, and so in going back and forth between the two to keep it in line. And now it's not a perfect one for one; it's going to be a little bit different, but I think that might keep people engaged a bit more, because the I actually have a couple people right now who've been reading through Lord of the Rings that I know of in our church that obviously come talk to me about it, and they're like, man, like I really like blew through, Battle of Helm's Deep and everything. Then I got to Frodo and Sam, and I'm just really struggling to get through this. I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's some really fun stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously like the Oliphants and Faramir, of course, Faramir is incredible. That whole shtick there, but yeah, there's also a lot that's just kind of like, yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. But thoughts?
Yeah, I actually couple of thoughts. I like that. I wonder because I know Tolkien initially wanted to just release the whole thing at once. And I
Yeah.
wonder what it was shaped like in that sense. And maybe it's in
Mm.
his letter somewhere and I just need to go and search for it. But it is weird that they published it the way they did, as,
Yeah.
book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, like as opposed to the way Peter Jackson did it, which heaven for or thank the Lord that Peter Jackson did it the way he did, or else those movies would have been
Could you imagine?
god awful. Um
Yeah.
so I wonder what the rationale was for that, because I do agree. I think that the Frodo and Sam and Gollum storyline gets pretty dull after a little bit. Just because there's only so many different angles that story can take. There's no twists and turns other than like Faramir. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, as opposed to, oh, you're following Pippin go to Minas Tirith, and you're following Merry stick with Theoden, and now
Mm.
Theoden is going through and meeting the Pukelmen, and like there's all these different side
Yeah.
plots that can occur as opposed
Exactly.
that don't
Exactly.
happen with
Yeah.
the other three. On your thought process, I wonder if somebody, and this is something we should look up at some point, I wonder if somebody has gone back and tried to figure out what the best order to do that in is,
Mm.
where it's like maybe 1 and 2 chapters of book 4 or book 3, and then chapter 1, and then chapter 2, and then
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I because I know a 1-to-1 wouldn't correlate.
Right.
um but that would be fascinating if somebody's gone back and been like, hey, if you blend it this way, it flows. And that would be
Hmm.
really fun to to read it that way, actually. I think that would be a lot of fun. I actually really like that take.
Well, and it's something that I've encouraged people when they're wanting to read the Bible, like especially if I hear a student or a volunteer, somebody's like, yeah, I want to read the Bible this year. Like I want to read the whole Bible. I'm like, okay, cool. Do it chronologically. Don't do it from book 1 to book 66, because they're not put together chronologically. And so when you're reading through Genesis, it'll stop for Job and then it'll go back to Genesis. And then, like, when you get to the New Testament, you'll be reading the book of Acts, but then you'll stop for certain letters that Paul wrote during that time. And
Mm-hmm.
you go back to the book of Acts. And so it breaks it up from the storyline, but it keeps you in line with the whole thing chronologically, to kind of see where this story, how it all ties in together, is a lot easier, I think, for me at least, that I've done both ways. And I think it's a lot easier to just go chronologically, because it keeps everything together,
Yeah,
especially
it
like
keeps
Old
in your
Testament.
mind. Yeah.
You have First and Second Kings and First and Second Chronicles, and a lot of those are the exact same stories, just kind of retold. And so you read those together instead of like reading it, then going back and reading the whole another book, and you're like, I think that sounds familiar. I think I read that again a while back. So similarly, I was like, man, I think Tolkien, like the way that he wrote Lord of the Rings, it would make more sense to do it kind of chronologically. And so, yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see if anyone's put something together like that.
I'm sure
I'm sure you can
somebody
just
has.
chat GPT or
Yeah.
something and say, hey, put it together chronologically for me.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
would be a that yeah, that would be a really, I like that idea. That'd be a really fun way of trying to read it.
yeah,
Hmm.
maybe for the future.
Yeah.
maybe
Uh
that's how I'll read it to Bear. We're like over halfway through The Hobbit now, and he's kind of losing interest. It's hard to keep a 2.5-year-old
I was gonna
on a
say,
book that has
yeah.
very little pictures.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Evie, and that's why just quick aside with Evie, I'll be like, "Hey Evie, potatoes," and then she look at me, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Love that.
And we have these little squishmallow things,
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's dope.
but
I need to get that for Barry. He's been calling me Gandalf a lot lately. I call him and Frodo.
yeah. So these are the only ones that
Yes.
they actually have. But
Oh my
with
gosh, those are
Evie,
amazing.
she literally is like, "I'm gonna go get Gandalf," or "I'm gonna go get Smeagol." And so, you're just planting those seeds to cultivate a little bit
Yeah.
later in life, even
Yeah.
if you can't keep their attention all the way right now.
I love it. Yeah, we've been reading a chapter of the Bible in the morning at breakfast, and but Bear wants me to read it in my Gandalf voice. He said, Daddy, you Gandalf?" I'd be like, "Yes, Bilbo, I'm Gandalf." I'll
I
just
love that. That's so cute.
he'll just randomly say that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah,
I've also
those we have a couple of Squishmallows, but not any Lord of the Rings ones. So
they
I
only have the
definitely
three. I
make
think
that
they're
happen.
only like $12 or something. Like they're not really that expensive.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's great. If any of
And
our
then
listeners out there want to pay it forward and buy my son a Squishmallow, I will gladly accept your charity.
uh uh yeah. Anyways, I'll jump into my next one. And this is a disagreement with Peter Jackson, and I get
Got
where
a few of
he's
those.
coming from. But the Scouring of the Shire is one of the most
Mm.
important chapters for the story that
Whoa,
Tolkien was wanting to write. Tolkien didn't care
whoa.
about these big glorious battles. If you notice,
Mm.
Tolkien, whenever he writes about Helm's Deep, Minas Tirith,
Yeah, yeah,
the death of Boromir, it's very quick and kind of matter of fact with like, here are the
sure.
highlights. It's not very in depth. You watch the
Yeah,
movies, the battle scene is an hour and 15 minutes or whatever. Like it's the
and it's
predominant
awesome.
feature. It is. It is. Don't get me wrong, it is.
Yeah,
But that's not the story Tolkien was trying to tell.
yeah,
The story Tolkien was trying to tell is these hobbits left their home because they wanted to protect it because this was a small section of land that had known virtually no issue. It was Valinor in Middle Earth, right? Like
mm, yeah,
it was protected from the outside by the rangers. Somebody was always watching over this land. And the whole story of Lord of the Rings is even that place, evil can reach. Evil can reach everywhere if we're not careful, if we're not diligent about stopping evil. It will invade everything, even this perfect little land of the Shire. And the Scouring of the Shire really brings that full circle. And another thing it does is it brings the character arc of especially Merry and Pippin, because Frodo
yeah,
really takes
yeah,
a backseat, but Merry and Pippin primarily, and then Sam as well. Gandalf even says like Gandalf, that he's aware of what's going on, but Gandalf
mm,
basically says like, "Nah, I'm gonna peace out
it's
and
on you.
go. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go talk to Tom Bombadil and have a good
yeah. What the
conversation.
heck?
This is on you to figure out." He's like, "This is what you've been trained for," and so Peter Jackson left that out. Oh, there's too many endings. There's too many endings. It's ridiculous. We don't need another one. And it's like, no, you need that to come full circle because especially like Sam, you see the emotion that they tore up the party tree and this
Oh
used to
yeah,
be a
yeah,
pub and I wanted a good beer and now I have to like fight you guys. Like it
yeah.
really brings home the pain and the destruction that evil can cause into even such a magical place. And then once again, good courage, they rally the Shire and they take it back and then they replant it with the seeds that Galadriel gave Sam and the dirt and everything, and so they make it what it was once again, but it takes effort. It's
Mm,
intentionality that they provide that
sure.
you miss that whole plot line of the books in the movie by just skipping that.
Mm. See, I have a very much more immature view of that. While I love the Scouring of the Shire for all the reasons that you mentioned, and so here's how I've always whenever I'm reading it, because after I've gotten through, and I mean I like to read, but I'm really not that great of a reader. It takes me a long time to get through something, and so I always feel very accomplished and sad when I'm getting to the end of like a book or something like that. Mostly accomplished. Some like when it's Lord of the Rings, I'm sad. when
Yeah.
it's a workbook, I'm like, thank God, or a textbook or something like that. Um, but here's so this is how I've always thought about it, and you brought up a great rebuttal that is probably far more philosophical and true than what I'm about to say. But the Scouring the Shire to me was always Tolkien saying, "I don't want to leave yet.
Hmm.
I don't want this to be over yet. I want the story to keep going." Because he was so in love with it. At least maybe that's my feelings that I have as I'm reading it. Because I read it, and for all the reasons that you mentioned, yeah, it's important. But especially, I totally understand why Peter Jackson left it out. Like, it was
Yeah.
already 4.5 hours long, and he left out plenty. And he really didn't add much in the Return of the King. I don't feel like. I mean, Two Towers, different story. Return of the
Sure.
King, he added a little bit, but for the most part, he was trying to figure out what to cut, and I think that was a fine thing to cut. I think it could have been cool to see more of that with this, especially Pippin. His character, he still just kind of seems pretty stupid the whole way through. Which, I mean, that's kind of the direction he went from day one. So I get that, but again, every time I've gotten to that point, reading the books or listening to them, like I don't want to leave yet. I
Yeah.
don't want it to be over. I get so sad. I'm like, there's got to be more, and obviously there's plenty more you can read, but that's kind of the end
Yeah.
of the Third Age. There's the appendices that touches on the Fourth Age just a tad, but even that's kind of depressing because it's mainly just Aragorn and Arwen, and Aragorn dies, and Arwen dies of sadness, and that's pretty much it. But I part of me thinks it was just Tolkien's way of like prolonging this beloved story that he had.
Hmm.
But I agree. I think he wasn't that naive. I don't think he was that immature. I think he definitely had a lot more of that philosophical idea of yeah, evil when kept unguarded or untouched. And somebody like Saruman turning into Sharky and just desiring control and power over the little folk, like and the way it happened, and manipulating the hobbits into doing things that hobbits would never do. Um,
So
it
I
all makes
do
sense,
I
but
do think that I get where you're coming from 100% because I very much feel the same way. It's one of my favorite chapters and it's one of my least favorite chapters because of that.
yeah,
But I think two things can be true at once in that the story Tolkien was trying to tell requires that to become full
hmm.
circle. And then
Yeah,
secondly, I bet you're right. Like this is him coming to the end and he's like, how do I make sure every loose end is tied? Which it doesn't get that way, but it's pretty close for a
yeah,
story. I mean, it gets pretty close. But I mean, the way I see it, and I know obviously Tolkien hated allegory, this and that, but his own life experiences, as we know, played into his writing.
yeah, yeah,
That chapter really kind of going along with like the Ents and Fanghorn and everything. Fanghorn, sorry, I know there's no H. Thanks, Sam. Um, it really goes into Tolkien's hate of urbanization and industry
yeah,
because if you remember, they dug up the party tree. They keep adding
yeah,
all these mills in place. They're knocking down everything that was once beautiful and replacing
yeah.
it
Didn't
with.
they build like a wall too?
Mm-hmm.
Like they built kind of like a yeah.
Yeah. So the way I see it, like I said, I'm doing the Trump weave where you go all the way
Oh
around and
boy,
bring it back. But
careful.
Tolkien was using that chapter, I think, to express his emotions after coming back from World War One, or what he
Mm,
saw during World War One and World War
yeah,
Two, for that matter, in the sense that his countryside of Warwickshire, right, like the small little countryside where he was
yeah,
outside all the time, and you know it wasn't a very crazy place. After the war effort to just survive, that wasn't home anymore, and he came home and it was different and it was overrun, and I can't help but
yeah.
think that that's what he's expressing through that chapter.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably very true. Um, yeah, especially his ties and love of trees and combining that but and I guess the cool part of that too that is even mentioned in a big lore dump too. Doesn't Sam plant trees given to him from Galadriel?
Yeah, the seed of the Malorn, he plants it where
Yeah,
the party
yeah,
tree once was, and it was the only
yeah,
Malorn west of the Misty Mountains.
Yeah. So that's a really cool moment. And honestly, I mean, I don't know if he had this in mind at all, but I can't help but think about like new creation in Christ Jesus, like the idea of like when you're reborn, like the old has passed away, the new has come. Like, yeah, your old life, you might have had fun and stuff, but when you give your life to Christ and you get to do this rebirth of like this is my new creation of who I am now in Christ Jesus, and those Malorn trees being even more splendorous and beautiful than what was before.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, Tolkien was very religious in his own sense and uh, brought a lot of that into his writings, whether intentionally or not. But that's kind of what my mind goes to. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
could
a, it's
see
a great
that.
chapter, and again, I do like it because it continues. Because again, after the Grey Haven, or I guess that's before Grey Havens, but like after they come back from Minas Tirith and everything, it's like I don't want to be done. I don't want to be. I don't want to put this book down. I don't want it to be over because yeah, I can go back and read plenty more and Unfinished Tales and Bring Up Morgoth and uh, Silmarillion, Baron Luthien, Children of Hurin, Fall of Gondolin. I mean, just
The
the
Lord of the
countless
Rings
things I can
proper
go
is
back
done.
to. But yes, the world, the mythology of
Yeah.
Tolkien is done, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I got one more, but why don't you go ahead and do one of your side quest ones, and then my last one's pretty quick.
Well, and that was my last one. Was more so this actually was the Scouring the Shire was my
Oh, really?
rebuttal to that. Yeah,
Okay.
it was kind of like it was like I don't really know how I stand about this, but yeah. So
Fair
mine
enough.
was that he just didn't want it to end, and it probably didn't need to happen. But
So we
you
both
changed
did
my
a
mind.
scouring of the Shire.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it when our minds do that. Okay, then I'll just be quick with this one. It's not necessarily a super hot take, but Farmer Maggot might be the biggest unsung hero of the
Mm,
Fellowship of the Ring. The
amen.
first book, he might be the biggest unsung hero.
Yep.
Who else are you gonna throw up there with him? The guy straight up defied the Nazgul and kicked him off of his property. Granted, if the
Mm-hmm.
Nazgul wanted, he probably could have just ended it, but he had the cojones,
Sure.
along with his dogs, to chase him
Yes.
off. And then
Mm-hmm.
knowing what not what they were per se, but knowing that they were bad and dangerous and terrifying, and he expresses the fear that they caused him, he was still more than willing to throw Sam and Frodo and Pippin in the back of his wagon, and his wife even is like, all right, just get back and be safe
Please,
out
yeah,
there.
come back to me.
Like the
Yeah.
respect that she has for him and doesn't even
Mm,
question him. Like, are you sure
yeah.
this is safe? Are you sure you should do this? It's like, no, this is the right thing to do. And this man, Farmer Maggot, is a man of honor that is a
Yeah.
brave guy that knows what he's doing. She doesn't even question it. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, it's implied, if not explicitly stated, that Tom Bombadil and Farmer Maggot are like best pals,
Mm, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
just wild. So it's like without without Farmer Maggot, everything falls apart. They don't even get out of the
From the
Shire.
get. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I hate how people who have only ever seen the movies would assume it's
He's a
just a
scythe.
yeah, he's a scythe turn. Get out of my road. Like, come on, man. He's so cool. And I think if you were to do like a TV series of Lord of the Rings, that would be so good to be able to put in.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you ever need to do that, like what they're doing with Harry Potter right now. I don't think I would actually want something like that to happen to Lord of the Rings, but that would lend it to because it is extra time. Like I mean, that chapter alone, like to be able to show that in what happened is like an extra 30 minutes probably because of the
has to be.
conversations that they have in his house, which are awesome too. Because Frodo's like, man, I always thought you were just kind of this like
Yeah,
scary guy, and here you are like taking us in and feeding us, and like you can see he humbles himself and is like, oh my
Frodo.
gosh,
Yeah, I forget exactly how he phrases it, but he legit says like, "I'm sorry, I've been scared of you and your dogs for 30
yeah,
years. I've clearly missed a good friend." Like, it's
yes,
such a
yeah,
cool line that he has.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and man, I just yeah, I get that you didn't have time to do that, Peter Jackson, but at the same time, don't make him bad. Like that's the thing. Like, okay, if you don't have time to do it, fine. then maybe just leave it out completely.
It
Like, what's the
allowed for the
point of like
comic. It
skewing?
allowed for the comic relief of Merry and Pippin.
I
That's what
guess,
it
I
was. It
guess
was
it
a
just,
driver for that.
yeah. I just, I hate when, I hate when he cuts corners to, and again, people who will probably never pick up the books but love the movies, and there's a lot of those people, uh, just have no idea. I
Yeah.
was talking to those two people that I mentioned, um, Devin, who he might start listening to this podcast. Who knows?
Hello,
He's our
Devin.
sheriff's officer. He's our he's our security guy that hangs out
Nice.
for us with during our youth group, and he just reads Lord of the Rings while while hanging out with us, which is great.
I love it.
But he's like, dude, and he's only seen the first movie, so that's a really
Mm.
unique perspective.
Yeah.
So when he got to the Siege of Gondor and the Pyre of Denethor, and he's like, dude, that guy that just like jumped off and killed himself with fire, like what? He's like, that was crazy. I'm like, yeah, it was really crazy.
That's
But then even
awesome.
Seth, my coworker, not you, he
Oh,
just
not
finished
okay.
reading Lord of the Rings, and he just confessed to me today. He's like, I don't know how this happened, but I had Eowyn and Arwen mixed up in my head because of the actors. Like, and so at the end of it, and when Eowyn and Faramir get together, I was like, wait, that's not right. That's not what I've seen in the movies. And so he looked it up, and he's like, oh, I've been picturing Eowyn as Arwen this
Yeah.
entire time. Uh, I was like, that's a pretty big mess up to have, but
That's
uh,
actually hilarious, though.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty funny. But man, all that to say, yeah, plenty of other little hot take things that you could run with. But this was fun. This is good dialogue, and this world is so vast and so near and dear to our hearts, and it's cool to get to have any kind of dialogue around it. And that's the thing, you can never stop talking about it once you get going. Like you
Hmm.
you can spend an hour on like four things. I love it.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a blast. Thank you for coming up with something easier that really didn't take much pre-work, because
Sure.
this was an absolute blast and I think I needed it, and it probably wouldn't have happened if you didn't brainstorm a way to make it happen. So thank you.
Hey, I needed it too. It's been a while since we were doing this, and shout out to my wife. I'm sure yours is the same. But
Oh
we
yeah.
we got back from our family group, and we were putting the kids down, and we thought we had Baron down, and I was like rushing to grab all the stuff, and we just hear the door open, and he eloped again, and she looked at me like,
He eloped
I
again.
got it. He's yeah. Now that he's learned how to get out of his bed, where bedtime has definitely changed.
I'm sure.
but but she just kind of looked at me like, I got it. Go ahead, and I was like, yes, thanks, honey. So hopefully
I
she's
will
in
say,
bed now at
let's
this point. But
kind of along those lines, huge shout out to both of our wives, just in general. I
yeah,
mean, with how
yeah,
busy you are at work and how busy I am with everything I've got going on, especially, I granted you guys are a little bit more invested in your nearby community, but being away from all family and in a state where, I mean, you've been there for 5 years now, so it is home, right? But
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
with people that you can just be like, I'm having a hard day, please watch the kids. I need 2 hours to get out of the house and be alone or
Right,
something.
right,
And being a stay-at-home mom, I don't know why people think it's easy or why people look down on it, because
right.
I see the work Amanda puts in, that I know Ariel puts in, and they're working just as hard or harder than we are on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
So just a huge shout out to them, because they're raising the next generation of people, and they're doing an excellent job with us not being as present as we would like necessarily.
yeah. No,
So
I
yeah.
absolutely agree. Yeah, yeah. I, and it was neat just kind of going back and forth, texting with Amanda, and just like the extra lengths she went to make sure it was something special for you.
She
And
always does.
uh, yeah, that's cool. And I mean, that's not again not to get too spiritual, but Azer Kenegdo is the biblical term for woman of God, and what that looks like. And it's Azer means helper, and it doesn't mean you're lesser than, but it means that you are literally like holding up the man.
Hmm.
And it's a picture of, and God himself is called Azer Kenegdo many times as the helper of us throughout, the Old Testament and the New Testament and stuff. So it's really unique to look at my wife through those lens of like, yeah, you're holding me up. Like you're not lesser than, you're not the weaker vessel. I mean, you you play a different role for sure, but I can't be a leader without you holding me up and without you supporting me and helping me and letting me do stuff like this that just clears my brain, refocuses me, lets me have fun with my brother that I miss. And so, yeah, huge shout out to both y'all. Amanda and Ariel, I know you guys sometimes listen, but love you guys.
Yeah, love you both.
Absolutely. All right, well, I think we have come to the point where Gondor calls for aid. Seth said he would need to go to be in bed by 10 o'clock because he's waking up early. It is 9:57, so we just about made it. But Gondor is indeed calling for aid. Will you, Rohan, answer? If you liked the podcast, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a review. You can find us on any podcast platform or YouTube. Go check us out there where you can see our videos of me in my bathroom. So it's great.
It's a beautiful backdrop.
It's a beautiful backdrop. Well, Baron stole my Lord of the Rings blanket that I used to have.
I was gonna ask.
And so yeah, he stole it from me, which is cute. I'm glad he likes it. But anyway, we thank you for stepping out on the road with us. What to expect next time? We have some ideas about looking at the creation of the lamps and the trees from the very beginning of the Silmarillion. So some exciting stuff. No idea when it will actually come out. So until then, we bid you a very fond farewell, and we thank you for enjoying some wine comforts with us. And we'll see you next time.
Take care.